Hey everyone, it's Karen. Okay, so my goal for this summer is to read a book a day on the majority of days. Obviously, if I'm crazy busy or traveling, I'm not going to commit to reading a book on those days. However, I kind of want to get ahead sometimes on days when I do have extra time. So anyway, I have been out of school for 3 days now, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I have read 2 books, so technically I'm one behind. But I wanted to share what book I read today, and I'm hoping to catch up by reading another short book. We still here just to kind of reflect on Juneteenth and just learn more. I feel like today is a really good day to learn and to grow in that regard. But anyway, the book that I read today is Case Study, and it is by Graham McRae Bernay. Sorry, I think it's Bernay. And it is just a mind-blowing sort of a book. So it starts off, basically, you don't know what's real and what's not real in this book, okay? So it starts off, and this was long listed for the book or two. Starts off with a preface. And the preface is like talking about how this author like got these journals sent to him in the mail kind of unsolicited because this guy like had this story that he thought would be really good in book format, and he knew that this author was the guy to do it. And like first I'm like, okay, this is obviously fake. Like, authors have people do this to them all the time, and it drives them absolutely mad. Like, no author is gonna take somebody else's story and like make it their own for the most part, like unless it's like nonfiction or something. Like, they have enough of their own ideas, they don't need that. And a lot of people think their stories are more exciting than what they actually are. But I was just kind of confused the whole time I was reading about this situation, because at the very end, it is signed GMB April 2021, and those are the author's initials, and so it's just very confusing. Also, the tone of this, when you open it up, it kind of feels like some old book where someone is communicating through like letters. Like, no, it's all through like emails and stuff like that, and they're up to date and they're talking about this, but just the way it's written sounds very formal, and like you have reached someone through the mail and sent them these manuscripts and all this stuff, and then like maybe you phone them. I don't know, it seems way more old-fashioned than what it actually is. So the rest of the book is basically that the author, has legit decided to tell this story. And so in the notebooks, you are following this woman whose sister has committed suicide, and who is living in this home with her dad, and I'm pretty sure it's her stepmom. And she basically is convinced that her sister did not just commit suicide, but that it was the psychologist that she was seeing that like drove her to do it. Like, he is a murderer in an indirect sort of a way, and she needs to like figure out what happened to her sister. So she like assumes this new identity, Rebecca Smith with a Y, and she decides to make an appointment with the psychologist. And so you are following her in this character that she has become, and she's essentially trying to figure out what happens to her sister. But as you can tell, basically, from like the second that she steps into this other role, it reminds me very much of Hamlet. Like, she is trying to be kooky enough to see this psychologist, but along the way, you're always like kind of fearful and kind of tense that she's actually going to become mad through the process of pretending to be mad. And no spoilers on if that happens or how that happens or anything like that, but it provides this like steady tension throughout the book as she does end up meeting with this psychologist and having lots and lots of appointments with him as Rebecca. But that's not the end of the story. So you have the preface, which talks about how the book was made. Then you have the journal. But then in between, like, books of the journal or something like that, there is this biography that has also been written on the psychologist, because he is so world-renowned, super famous, that somebody has decided to write a biography of him. So it's kind of like Rebecca's story, a little bit about the psychologist, Rebecca's story, a little bit about the psychologist as the book goes on. And like, it's just so crazy how the author bends facts and makes up things that you think are possibly facts. Like, here's what I know. Here's what I know. I know that authors do legitimate research to include enough facts in their books so that when you're reading fiction, you feel like, yes, like, this makes sense because I know that this are true, so I am going to believe that this also kind of makes sense and is true. And like, I know that happens, but this is like next level. And I just watched another video on this book by a Welsh booktuber, Katie Books, and he was talking about how he literally wanted to Google the psychologist to see, like, okay, but like, what's the actual story? Like, obviously this author has created a fictional story that is connected to this real life man, and that is exactly where my brain went. And I just finished it. It took me part of yesterday and part of today to finish it, but like, that was my next step. I wanted to Google, and I didn't, but Katie Books told me don't, you know, no need, because it's all fiction. But even if you know that it is fiction, you still are going to be just like on this like tightrope of like, well, is this real? And then your brain will just be like, yes, it is real. And you'll be like, no, I know it's fiction. I know it's not real. And anyway, so if you like a bit of literary, what would you call this? Psychological, unsettling sort of books, I feel like you would like this. So anyway, let me know if you've read it. Let me know what you thought about it, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.